What's up, everybody? Dharius Daniels here. I'm with my incredible wife, Shamika. I feel like I've known you a long time.
A long time.
I met you, I was like 19 or so.
But don't date us.
I'm old.
Right.
My
good.
God.
We're not
I'm
old.
old. I think I feel old. Anyway, listen, speaking of age,
Yes.
what you're about to watch is a segment of a conversation I had with some of the young adults that are part of the Change Church family.
Yeah.
I still consider myself a young adult. They're younger adults. And it's going to be, I think, a conversation that's necessary. I had some courageous conversations with them.
Good. All right.
Conversations that are necessary, but I want to warn some people, they may find some of the content a little surprising.
Yes.
And it may be off-putting for some people because we have to discuss some things, or we discuss some things in this conversation that generation is dealing with themselves, or that they are dealing with in an attempt to share the gospel with other people their age.
Right.
And so we deal with some really tough topics like racism and atheism and a bunch of other isms. And I attempt to equip them to be good evangelists.
That's great.
For their generation.
Right.
And we debunk some myths about racism and their presence as people of color in the Bible and things of that particular nature.
Right.
One, to help strengthen their faith, but also to help equip them to be better evangelists to their generation.
You know, I think this is so good that you do this because there are many things that we don't talk about in church. And so this gives them an opportunity to know what to say, how to say it, and you're just so great at articulating the right way to do things. So I just want to thank you for doing that.
My God.
Oh, you a good pastor. High five. Yes.
Listen, I need to buy you a purse or something.
Come on,
that was
now.
good. Anyway, I did want to prepare you for this. So if this is the kind of conversation you are interested in, I don't want you to be blindsided by it. But I do believe it's going to help a lot of people. These are questions and challenges that people in the Christian community, specifically in the African American section of the Christian community, these are questions they are dealing with. And we want them to understand that the Christian faith is a faith for all people.
That's right.
We are a coat of many colors.
Yeah.
And God has taken all people and made a people.
That's so good.
One faith, one Lord, one baptism.
Yeah.
But we deal with some real tough questions.
Yeah.
And it's a really real conversation.
Yeah.
And so be stimulated, be encouraged, be challenged, but most of all, be blessed.
Be blessed.
Enjoy.
So how do Christians, millennials, I've heard in situations where they've shared about the gospel or even just talking about their faith with family members or friends or just people that they interact with and then feeling that rejection. How do they deal with that? If it seems to happen, and I hear it's happened on a consistent basis, and now it's not that they don't believe, but they don't want to share.
So this is what I think. I think one of the things that is important is there's a scripture in Matthew 10 that I feel like speaks to this, where Jesus sends disciples out 2 by 2, and they're going into places and spaces with people they don't have relationships. So he's sending them to different cities and different villages. And so that's just a setup for rejection. You're about to get rejected. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, when you really look at that, he's like, you got to think about it. Ask yourself, for real, would I do that? I want you to go to Trenton, you go to Hamilton, you go to Princeton, you go to Lawrenceville, y'all go 2 by 2. And just go say this to people. I don't know, Jesus. This is a Facebook ad. I'm gonna do a Facebook Live. Facebook Live. Yeah. But the key is this. This is what he says. He tells them how to handle rejection. He says, when people don't receive you, don't stay there, don't try to bully people, and don't take the rejection personally. When he says, shake the dust off your feet and move on, this is what he's saying. He's saying, this is so interesting. It's like he's saying that you cannot miss the people who are waiting on you for people you are waiting on.
Oh, wow.
And there are times where we have to let God, in his own way, reach the people we love the most.
Yeah.
While we go reach the people he loves the most.
Yeah.
I want to ask this. Do people talk about hell anymore?
I do.
Really? Do people? I don't hear a lot about that anymore.
Talked about this yesterday. We're in this era of like spirituality where you have a lot of people, so a lot of people say, oh, I'm not a Christian, but I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
So this I shouldn't say illusion, but this belief of everything's just a spiritual movement or whatever, that there is no hell, because it's like, no, we're all spiritual beings, so when I die I'm going to be a butterfly or whatever they believe.
Yes.
So reincarnation. So like hell's not a big
that.
thing anymore because it's everyone's spiritual.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but I just felt like it was weird. I noticed the shift. Like, I know when I was growing up, that was like the motivation for, you know what I mean, becoming a Christian. And I'm like, that just sucks because.
I was going to say on the contrary though, I hear some people say, I don't believe in God because I don't understand how a God can create me and actually love me and take me into hell and actually. So like, that's another thing I actually
I also think like we're in an age where if you look out into the world, you can see like Satan saying, "I'm not real."
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm not
Deceiving.
There are no consequences.
That YOLO.
Do whatever you want to do.
It's funny because it's like I was just having a conversation. It's like we talk a lot about God and being made in His image and having His tendencies, characteristics, yada yada yada. But it's just like we get angry and we don't think God does. It's like the Bible clearly talks about God's wrath. Why don't we talk about that more often? Like
It's weird though, because there's this framing that people, it's the way they frame God, and they wouldn't even frame a parent that way. You know what I mean? So if a child does something that's self-destructive, a parent's gonna get upset. You understand what I'm saying? If a child does something that harms themselves and others, a child's gonna get upset. But if you put that emotion on God, it's like, well, who wants a God that gets angry? That's a healthy emotion. Right? That's an expression of love. You want a God that cares. You know what I mean? Like that's what you're saying. You want this. It's like deism. You just want this distant deity. It's earthy. It's the universe. It's such an impersonal term. That's a dangerous term. The universe that's impersonal. That's impersonal. It's just deist. It's just something. And it's not something that is someone who is personally engaged with you and personally advocating for you and leading and ordering your steps. So I feel like that's so dangerous.
But I think the afterlife conversation comes off as religious. So like, if I bring up hell, it's gonna seem like, even if I say it nice and you think, like people still gonna be like, oh my gosh, you're going if I talk about heaven too much, then I look crazy.
That is interesting, isn't it? People, it's like those defenses go up with that word. Oh, here we go. I'm about to burn, right?
I would say this, what I kind of like noticed is that some people who may not care about like hell or heaven, it's usually probably because the way they feel now, they're in such emotional distress. Sometimes it's like, what connection does that have with me? You know what I mean? Like right now, like as it pertains to my life and what I'm living right now, what connection does it have like when I pass? Like what does God have to do for my now as opposed to my afterlife? And I think that damnation just makes them feel more doomed, like it's like going down in a spiraling, like never ending,
And it's weird because, don't get me wrong, if it's in scripture it's important, but I just think the overemphasis of it is so unnecessary in terms of introducing people to Christ. Because it's like the best benefit, not the best, but you don't just benefit when you die. This isn't just like a one-way ticket to heaven. This is like, the creator of a thing knows how to get the best of a thing. We believe in intelligent design. Someone created us. They wrote a manual, a book, that if it properly interpreted.
Oh, yes.
Right? It properly interpreted instructs us on how to get the best out of us and out of life. And so that's what we want. It's and you mentioned this, right? Earlier. The Bible's not, this is what the Bible says about. You believe about the Bible. I believe about the Bible what the Bible says about the Bible. that the Bible's a collection of documents constructed, Paul says, to make us wise unto salvation. That is the purpose of the Bible. It's not a history book.
Right.
It's not a history book. It's not a book that tells you everything it tells you the things you need to know about the things you need to know. It can't tell you everything you want to know about everything. So people say stuff like, well, who did Cain marry? If it was Adam and Eve? Bruh. Like that's not.
I just got recently about Adam and Eve's children. Like if we all came from Adam and Eve, then aren't we all brothers and sisters? Because they had to have incest. And that's not.
No, this is the point.
Right.
The point is we all started from somewhere.
Right.
Like that's the point. It's not it's not a book intended to tell you everything about everything.
Right.
It's that's the weirdest thing, right? That I kind of run into with that. So you mean to tell me a flood?
A flood happened.
40 days. Like we've given no thought to these issues. Now that's what's kind of insulting to me, right? I can respect the fact that you come to a different conclusion than me about this issue of faith, but don't assume that I haven't been exposed to the same arguments you've been exposed to.
Right.
I just decided not to be convinced. I just see it differently. Well, read this book. No, I'm at a point where I refuse to argue with people about certain things unless they demonstrated they got a mastery on a certain degree of material. Like you have at least need to open the Bible before we argue about it. You know, man wrote the Bible. Have you read anything in it first?
Right.
You know. So I think one of the things that's important is to look at that book that way. This is intended to show me the way of salvation, to show me the way to live life as God intended. That's the purpose of it. It's not a history book. It's not a book intended to answer everything about everything.
My dad says all the time, he says, Christians are always charged with the burden of truth, like proving that God exists or proving that this stuff, and it's not the other way around. It's just like, so he said, when people ask him, it's like, yo, prove to me that God is real. He's like, prove to me that he's not.
That's really good. That's really good.
It's crazy the way people think.
Yeah, but in the midst of all of this, the key is love. It is, and this is what Paul, who imagine Corinth, right? It's like, this is like an oversimplification, but the book of Corinthians is written to people in Corinth, and it's like, let's just imagine Miami, like located in Miami, the makeup of New York, the ethics and morals of Vegas. Think about this. Located in Miami, the makeup in terms of diversity and all of that of New York, but the ethics and morals of Vegas. So he writes to them and he's like, listen, you're gonna run into a lot of stuff. And he says, you're gonna have gifts and arguments and information. He says, but the most effective way is love. 1 Corinthians 13, he says, love will do more than an argument. Love will do more than a spiritual gift. And that takes maturity, that takes openness. But in the midst of great adversity, God is always at work doing something great. And that's what I think is really happening with your generation. I see it with you guys and the impact that I feel like you guys will be able to make on culture. And I'm not trying to over-spiritualize it, but I do believe that also speaks to the nature of the type of onslaught of assaults that you guys dealing with and have to fight through, and etc. So you are so needed, you are so necessary, and I'm so optimistic about the future of the faith and the future of the church, because I really believe it's in good hands. Good stuff? Great. Yeah, thank y'all for your time today. This is great. Appreciate it. Yeah.